by alone inside. He's got the breakaway with the touch to the right. Goal! Everything you wanted from this debut. It's Brandon by. Taking a shot with the left. Goal! Isaac Frank from 25 yards out. The equalizer. Will Kidd with the touch of the goal. It's a go-ahead goal. Minneapolis City.
This is the People's Pitch Podcast, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City Soccer Club, brought to you by Summit Brewing Company.
Hello, soccer people. It's been quite some time away from you all, and for that, we apologize. But we are now done with some life stuff that will allow us to come back at you with some great shows on a regular basis. So it's all good stuff. This is the People's Pitch Podcast, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City Soccer Club. I am John, and we will not be joined by Nate today. He is actually on call for the birth of his new baby. So I am joined with a guest host, the one, the only, NPSL head coach Matt Van Benschoten. Matt, thank you for stepping in for Nate today. You're typically a guest. Are you up for putting on your hosting hat for the show?
I sure hope so. I mean, nothing can compare to the sexy and seductive voice that is Nate the Great. So I'd like to keep the bar real low for everybody. And truth be told, I'm probably more comfortable standing on the sidelines being berated by opposing fans, but I'll give it my best shot. And if this is the only week we do it and nobody wants me back, that's fine.
I mean, hey, this could be a regular thing. You never know. I mean, Nate has it's his first child, so
so he may be out for a while. Then
yeah, he may be on the IR for a while.
That's fair. Well, we have a lot to talk about. So I think our big three things that we want to go over this week. Number one, the fact that St. Thomas is going to be our first Division I men's soccer program in Minnesota. We'll kind of talk through our thoughts on that and what that means for our club. Secondly, there were a lot of announcements this week for our former U23 team, so we will touch on that. And then last but not least, we had some kits that are being put to vote. And, of course, we broke the soccer internet again. So let's jump into it.
You're doing great so far.
Oh, good.
So I just want to let you know. But, like as people listening know, we talked about earlier, is that when you have to finish the show, and that's where the true test comes.
Oh,
so,
shit. Okay.
I think you'll get there. But
all right.
I think it is time to start. I think it's time to hold on to the wheel because a lot to talk about. 0 to 60 real fast, folks. So as Matt mentioned, on October 4th, it was announced that the MyXO and St. Thomas will be moving in a conclusion to the news that broke last year about the other conference members in the MIAC being displeased, I guess you could say in quotation marks, with the success that the school's sports programs have. So, and in the recent past, and like you talk about the other sports, the football program is pretty much a dynasty. But
right,
I mean, you went to Bethel, that Bethel is a good program. St. John's is a good program, but in the recent history, football I think was kind of the crux of this.
For sure,
and it wasn't solely based on the soccer program, as we know, because they were more kind of brought along for the ride. Because if you look at the recent history and the parity of who's taken the MIAC's regular season and then the end of the season tournament soccer titles, it's not heavily leaned on St. Thomas, but here we are. They're moving to Division I, and that is a big thing in respect to soccer and ultimately Minneapolis City. So historically, we've not had a D1 program for men's soccer in this state, which in itself I think is like a total true crime. But as it stands now, they'll be inserted into the Summit Conference, and they'll be joining the likes of Oral Roberts, fantastic name, Nebraska, Omaha, Denver, Purdue, Fort Wayne, and then both Eastern and Western Illinois. So some decent hitters in the soccer landscape. You're not getting your Big Ten type schools. You're not getting your Ohio States or Michigans. You're not getting your Virginias. You're not getting your Clemsons. These are your mid-major type schools. So, Matt, what are your initial thoughts on them being removed from the MIAC, seeing that you were once part of that league as a coach at Bethel, and the decision made by the league to invite St. Thomas into Division I, skipping Division II, which is for those of you who are listening that don't know, the process is a 3-year stepping stone in Division II before you go into Division I, unless you are voted in by a Division I conference. So that's kind of what the landscape of where we're at today.
Yeah, no, when it was first being talked about, even before the vote actually came down, it just seemed a little absurd. And talking to people, within the MIAC soccer wise, I think all of us were not particularly thrilled that this was even up for discussion. So when the vote actually came down and they were voted out of the MIAC, I think I personally was really disappointed because I think, for St. Thomas, as one of the founding members of the conference, staple of Minnesota college sports for decades, it just seemed like a really poor decision to get rid of them. And like you alluded to, especially because it seemed like a lot of this was directed at the football program, even though UST has a lot of sports, both on the men's and women's side. And yeah, St. Thomas is very good in all of their sports, but that's the whole point of competition. If you don't like the fact that you're losing to a team,
get better.
Yeah, go make the necessary changes and go compete. And as a player and as a coach, I think some of my most memorable games were against St. Thomas because we knew they were going to be good, and it forced us to elevate as a team.
Yeah, it was pretty unfortunate news, and I know we talked about it around the city circles about how really, like, what are they going to do now? Are they going to be an independent? Are they going to try to go to Division II through that process? Right. So then this news, it was really a shock in my eyes, despite the fact that this was a very much a take your ball and go home aspect of the other schools and what they did in the MIAC to St. Thomas. I think it's fantastic news for soccer. So, agreed. I mean, being a football fan or a basketball fan aside, soccer is actually benefiting from this. So at the end of the 2021 season, so a couple years to kind of get their ducks in a row, the move will take place. But what it does overall is create a home for the state's top soccer players that don't want to leave and plus leave to go to a school out of state where they not only can get a good education, but get high level soccer to play, as well as it being a stopping point for top talent from around the globe, where they get, international transfers or kids from other states. I'm sure you're going to see a heavy dose of Wisconsin kids probably making the trip down 94
for sure.
To really call Minnesota home, which has implications for Minneapolis City. So seeing that we've had many players who moved from out of state to play in the MIAC. So, you look at your Tim Wills of the world, the guys that have called Minnesota home and then ended up becoming part of Minneapolis City. I really think that we can draw from this to help in our roster building.
For sure.
Outside of that, what are your thoughts on how this impacts soccer in Minnesota, and then specifically the players that you'll have at your disposal to deploy for the Crows in the NPSL?
Yeah, I think it's going to have a really big impact on Minnesota soccer. I mean, like you said, the fact that we have not had a Division I's men program is ridiculous. And especially, too, it seems like Minnesota soccer has always been 5 to 10 years behind some of the bigger powerhouse Midwest states like Illinois, Missouri, Ohio, and even Wisconsin. I mean, Wisconsin has 3 D1 programs. We have 0. And, I think part of that is lack of a men's D1 collegiate program here in Minnesota is we just haven't had it. And I think if you look at what Steph Golan has done with the U of M women's team and the impact it's had on girls soccer here, it's been tremendous. I don't work a lot with the girls side at Fusion, but just some of the families that I know that there's a number of girls and young women who attend games on a regular basis, and they feel
season ticket holders.
Yeah, season ticket, and they're into it because it feels like it's something they can aspire to, and they tap into it. So I think clearly the news is a major positive for the local soccer scene. And in terms of city perspective, it only helps us. I think the MIAC has been one of the best conferences in D3 soccer, top to bottom. It's produced a number of players for us as a club. But having a D1 program here in the Twin Cities just ups that level even more, because not only does it help us retain the best players in the state, it starts to draw in and bring in more talent from other states, like you mentioned. So now we're not only looking at kids potentially going to Milwaukee or UW Wisconsin or Eastern Illinois, Western Illinois. Now they're staying here in house, but then we're also potentially bringing some of those other players in, and that's only going to make all of us better.
Right. I guess before we kind of put a bow and kind of wrap up this bow on and wrap up this topic, Do you feel that other MIAC schools or maybe even just soccer programs will now look to jump ship and maybe go to Division II for that 3 years, or explore the option to get invited in by a D1 program? Or is this a one-off kind of circumstance?
Yeah, I think it's a one-off circumstance. I mean, the fact that USC was able to make the jump from D3 to D1 is really unprecedented in and of itself. I think the one big advantage they have is they have the resources, maybe with the exception of St. John's more than anybody, to really be even to consider making that move. I mean,
Why is that?
I think part of it's the institution. I think part of it is they have a really good endowment, and I mean, it's part of the whole going back to the competition piece is like they're very good at what they do athletically, and so boosters, alumni, donors, people want to be a part of success, so they tap into it and they invest in it, and I think that's been a big reason why.
Interesting. Well, great take. You're still doing well, man. You're still doing well.
Good. All right. Well, so to segment 1, I'll start segment 2 for us. So, as you all have heard, the news that surrounded our U23 team over the past month, and there was a lot, but let's start with the name change. So, this past week, actually last week, we did a full rebrand of the team, and this now what was the U23 team is now going to be called the Minneapolis City 2. It's something we saw other clubs deploying from a naming perspective. So adding the 2 to the end of our U23s and changing it from the U23s is something that we really wanted to be intentional on. It doesn't change the fact that our focus for this team is going to skew younger and on development, but something that felt we needed to happen to take away kind of the age restriction of sorts, even though that really hasn't been the case. There's just that connotation of, it's only for U23 players. But then on top of that, we also wanted to put them in a league where, so the second part of that is they will be joining the UPSL Midwest Division. And super exciting for us, but I think a lot of it comes because it's something that the players really wanted from us.
Correct. And as the folks who listen to the show know and may not, know that we like to include everyone in our decision making, but they may not know that it's not just the members that get to vote on club topics. The players have lots of input on how we go about doing what we do to create these environments for players to succeed in. So we simply asked the players, some of which have been with us for over 2 years now, and what do they want to do with the U23 team, not knowing that we were going to be changing the name, but what would they like us to do? And it was basically, is the current format of friendlies good for them? Is the amount of travel and the competition that we're providing is something they want to do? Do they want more home games? And most importantly, do you want to play for trophies? And joining a league and playing for trophies took the top spot.
For sure. No, and I don't want to say that this has been a long time coming, because we've only had the U23s for 2 years. But even before we formed the U23s themselves, this is a big point of discussion for us as a club. How do we want to do this? Do we want our players to be in a league to have kind of competitive, meaningful games? Or do we want to have a little bit more flexibility with our roster, with our games, and kind of be able to do things on our terms? So for year 1, we went with the exhibition schedule just because, rather than trying to put a lot of money into time and travel and league fees, it just kind of gave us the flexibility and freedom we needed to really create this U23 entity. And it was fine. I think it was good. It was what we needed it to be. So then some of the feedback we got from year 1 was they wanted to play more games and they wanted to have maybe even better competition. So then the goal last year was to create an even better schedule with more games and more competitive teams. And
that we did.
We did do that. And a big kudos to our athletics director, Adam, for being able to make that happen, because we ended up playing, Des Moines Wanderers, Green Bay Voyagers, who's a USL2 team, Bug Eaters, and a number of top UPSL teams. But even with that change last year, which was good, and to have more competitive games, there's still a big difference between exhibition games and games that have meaning attached to them. And, when you talk to the players, they want to compete and they want to be in games that are meaningful. And so, after talking about it as a club and getting the feedback from players, we made the decision and put them in the UPSL this year.
And I think like the travel thing was, and not being in like vested in a league structure kind of made it difficult, as you and I both know more than most, is like trying to get a guy to travel for a weekend to Omaha to play against the Bug Eaters. But then the guys who do go, they got to see the fact that we played at, the University of Creighton in their fantastic stadium against a good team, like lots of exposure for those guys to be able to play in that atmosphere and that environment. But that, that still wasn't enough for them. The other aspect to think about for us as an organization is the fact that we're able to share players across both leagues. So in itself, that's something that will allow us to put forth a strong side. And like I mentioned, some of the away trips, a little less than desired strength of side for some of those trips. You look back 2 years ago, and a guy we're going to be mentioning here shortly had to play for the team. So it also gives the opportunity for some of the NPSL players to gain some more meaningful minutes.
For sure.
Perhaps, rehab an injury. So overall, it was the right move, and I think it was a move that also raises our national profile.
Yeah, and I'll jump into, I think the other piece of that, like you alluded to, I think part of why we went with the Minneapolis 2 moniker is so that we can have more of a first and second team with a lot more crossover. You mentioned the fact that U23s went down to Omaha and we didn't have a ton of guys. I mean, we still were traveling, even with our NPSL team, to away games with less than desired numbers. And so I think next year, with having that big pool of players that we do, whether it's NPSL guys who are rehabbing or not getting minutes, needing to play in the UPSL, or some UPSL players who are excelling and then get bumped up to the NPSL, I think it just creates a much better environment for everybody, that it's a much more collective identity that we're trying to get players what they need and have them be successful.
What, you mean like going to Detroit with 13 players?
I mean, perhaps.
Right, yeah, I mean, hey, that was kind of a big game. So whatever.
Exactly.
So the last topic on City 2 is that we have a new head coach, and seeing that you are the guy who is atop the coaching tree within the club, why don't you tell us a little bit more about this one?
Yeah, and actually, you know what? Before I talk about our new coach, I think it's important to give credit to last year's coach, Jeremy Handler. Jeremy did an excellent job with the 23s, as well as serving as an assistant with the NPSL team. I can say with confidence, he is one of the best tactical coaches.
Oh, absolutely.
I have ever worked with. I mean, his ability to read the game as it's happening and then come up with solutions in the moment might be second to none. So unfortunately for us, but fortunately for Jeremy, he was offered a coaching position with the Development Academy and is currently doing that. Not sure yet if he'll be back with City in some sort of assistant coaching capacity next season. But even if he's not, he's definitely a Crow and will forever be a part of our murder.
Yeah, absolutely. Once part of the murder, always part of the murder.
100%. 100%. But with that being said, we'll talk about our new coach. So our new coach is the shoeless wonder, Ryan Nichols, which is an inside joke for some of you. Maybe we'll tell you sometime. I coached Ryan back at Bethel University, and I've known him for 6, maybe 7 years now. I'm not entirely sure, but we're celebrating our friendship anniversary very soon. So
do you guys put on nice sweaters and go to Culver's or something? Or
no, we usually our go-to is kind of Applebee's, half price hats, and $4 Summit. So it's good. It's very, very rewarding.
Do you sit on the same side of the table with each other, or is it a eye-to-eye situation?
Sometimes it depends. And if they give us a booth, yeah, we usually sit next to each other. So you're comfortable,
right?
No, but I've known Ryan for a long time, and he's sort of been my right hand man in coaching for the last few years, whether it's been at Bethel with the reserve team or Fusion, or even when it's been teaching preschoolers with soccer shots. Ryan just kind of been my go-to guy. And he's only 25, so he's a young coach, but the thing that I really like about Ryan is that he's passionate, and he works incredibly hard, and he's built a really good rapport with these younger U23 players. And I think that's a really, really big thing, because I think that for players to buy in, you need to have that connection with the coach. And so, in some ways his age might work against him, but I think in other ways his age actually is a huge benefit. So I'm excited for Ryan. I think he's going to do very, very well with City Numero Dos.
Oh, I like that. That might be the first time I've heard that.
There you go.
I mean,
we've only got 400 different nicknames, so what's another one?
Right, exactly. Maybe we'll make up a trophy for that. I think just to, I can't really add much more to what you said. I think, I've known Ryan going on 3 years now. And, he came into the club and helped you out when you were the coach of the U23 team way back when it was called the U23 team.
Right. Almost 3 weeks ago.
Right. Yeah. Almost 3 weeks, way back when. And, I thought that in his role as your primary assistant, it was very much so like understand the atmosphere, use it as a resume builder for other things.
Sure.
But really get your feet wet with higher level players. Fast forward another year, and he's working with Jeremy, being the primary assistant again for the U23 team, and in some aspects with Jeremy's travel schedule, working with Minnesota United's development academy, took the lead position organically, and he showed the ability to not only have the maturity at that young age he talked about, to be able to travel with 15 players to an out of state game and perform was admirable. And then like you mentioned, seeing him with just his general rapport with players, and being younger, like you said, has its drawbacks, but I don't see those as many drawbacks for him. I see that more as a positive, because a lot of the part of and it as well, being a coach of players that skew from just finishing high school to maybe just finishing up their first or second year in college, is having your pulse on how kids or guys that age, how they act, how they perceive information and understand the game of soccer, and then also just ways that they are more comfortable being taught. And I think that he showed that, and was, we've not only used Minneapolis City, and you're an example of it as well, just for the players to be developed and promoted within. It's been our coaching staff, after Adam stepped aside, you stepped in and took the team after a year with us, and now it's the same thing with Ryan, and I'm happy to have him around for another year, and excited to see what he can do within the league structure, and also seeing that now we have more in town time, being able to see him take those nights where it's solely Minneapolis City 2's training nights, and just seeing what he does with his guys on his own will be really exciting.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think your points about kind of how, part of the goal, obviously the big goal with City is to try to, help and develop players. But it has been a big piece of it has been developing coaches as well, and giving coaches opportunity. I mean, that's a big part of why I'm here, and same with Ryan. And I think, the promotion within thing, I don't want to understate that, because I think it's so incredibly important for not only our players, but our coaches to understand what the club is about. And, there's lots of lower level clubs, but I think the success is predicated on the fact that people understand what we're about and why we're here.
Right.
And it's a very special and unique environment. And Brian understands that. And that's part of why, we as a staff and as a front office made the choice with him, was like, he gets it. He's invested. He's here, really, really wants it. And yeah, I think it will be a really, really good fit. So I'm very excited for young Mr. Nichols.
Well, especially to kind of continue on this development phase of the conversation here from a coaching perspective. If you look around our league really started out with, when we moved to the NPSL North, when it was created, it really kind of started out with either you had kind of journeyman coaches that were kind of just in that area where the team started, and then maybe they stuck for a year, maybe they didn't, or you had the club owner coaching the team, or in some aspects even playing and coaching the team. And what's unique with us is that we've never had that. I mean, yeah, I stepped in and helped out whenever we need to, purely just based on being the responsible person who knows the players and can take the team. But our focus has been on developing coaching staff members, and it's hard. I mean, you can speak to it too. It's really hard for us to find quality coaches that aren't already involved with something for the summer. And most of our coaches are full-time professional coaches as their job. And it's tough to say, hey, we have this great thing out here, but you don't get paid because we're not making enough money yet. But one day we hope to be there. And
exactly.
And that initial conversation with someone's usually like, I don't think so. I mean, and it's not just for younger, more up and coming coaches. I mean, look at Carl Craig was in the conversation to be helping us out from a coaching staff perspective, and he had mouths to feed as well. So
for sure,
it's a very delicate balance. But once we, once we get those coaches within our system, they start to understand the benefits of it, and it's really hard. It's really hard to say, okay, I'm just going to leave, because it's a very family kind of centered atmosphere with not only our players and our fans, but also our coaches.
For sure. No. And even with talking with Jeremy and having this being kind of an ongoing conversation with him for next year, like I know it's a really hard decision for him. And it's obviously one that, he's got to make a living, and obviously totally respect that. But I know it's difficult for him to even take a step back from it because of, like you said, it's a very unique thing where everybody is doing this not because they're getting paid, but because they want to. And it's not just our front office and coaches, it's our players. And our players understand that, hey, like, if you're going to play for Minneapolis City, there's going to be some sacrifices made. And I think it's a very rare thing to find a group and community like that stems from the top all the way to the players, to the fans, where there's all this buy-in. But I obviously think that's the big part of why we've been successful.
And why a guy like Ryan wants to throw his hat in the ring and take the reins.
This is true. Well, that, and then he knows that I'll probably buy him a beer or two or some half-price apps. So let's be real here.
Well, and we spend a lot of time together.
We do.
People don't really get,
for good and bad reasons.
Yeah, right. Like, people don't really get that. I mean, like, you don't even throw on the topic of, like, you come into this ecosystem and then you're traveling and sharing hotel rooms with each other.
Right.
So
exactly.
And like all the shenanigans that come along with that. But it's all good stuff, and real happy to have Ryan continue to be on board.
For sure. Well, let's get on to our last topic, the one that everybody's talking about, and that is our kit reveal that we did.
Yes, we did
this week. So unless you were living under a rock, that you would have only seen Twitter or something like that. We launched our new kits from. We are going with stimulus again, correct?
I don't know. I believe so. I haven't heard otherwise, but hey, who knows? You never know.
Who knows? Whatever. Yeah. We've got the designs. That's the most important thing. Per usual, our back of the house crew did another fantastic job of pushing the World Soccer kit design in another positive direction with 6 very unique looks, all of which I would love for our players to wear. As many people on Twitter have suggested to us,
just make all 6.
Maybe just make all 6. Have 5 alternate kits. Like, I don't mind that idea.
How many home games do we have? We have
8.
We have 8 home games.
No, it's less than that. 6, 7,
6 or 7 home games.
6 or 7.
I mean, if you toss in the city of Lakes kits. I mean, we might be able to pull it off, or we wear a new one every time.
And that would be very city to have a different home kit for every single game.
Yeah, and an away game.
Being awesome. Yeah, that's very true. So anyways, if you have not become a member yet, you should, because you then get to vote on what our jerseys for next year will be, and not just next year, but even into 2021. So if there is a certain kit that catches your fancy, I would suggest that you become a member, and then you can have some say in it. So, John, why don't you review the options for us and go over what we are voting on here?
So the first thing to note is that all of the home kit options were named after Lizzo song lyrics. So that in itself, I think, is totally us, where we don't just launch a jersey, but we attach something like Lizzo lyrics to it.
Of course.
So like,
have to.
Yeah, why make a jersey when you can't make it even better? So
Correct.
From an away perspective, we'll get to the home ones here in a second. The first option is called That Bitch, and basically what I can basically describe this jersey as is
I'm really excited for you to try to describe these jerseys.
Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting because I haven't rehearsed this part of the show. So again, as people know, our away kit is predominantly pink. Club chairman Dan Hudeman and I, when we were conceiving this whole Minneapolis City experiment quite a few years ago, we were kind of throwing around, do we make jerseys that throw back to our Stegman's days, which if you don't know, Mr. Stegman was Dan and I's youth soccer coach, and our colors were yellow and blue. So we had a lot of yellow and blue, and then one day we were out, tossing back a few, watching some Champions League, and we were watching a Palermo game, and I said, what's the worst, Dan? And he's like, "What's that, John?" I said, "Well, I'm glad you asked. There's nothing worse than getting beat by a team at home wearing pink." And that is why we always wear pink on the road, because
I love it.
You take 3 points away from someone at home and you're wearing pink. It just turns that knife a little bit more. So anyways,
for sure.
That bitch is probably the most I guess tame of the jerseys that we have for our away jerseys. And it's an all pink top with black shorts and black socks, but it has a unique design on it that is something that we've picked up throughout all of our design. And it only comes across the right shoulder. It looks as if it's kind of like an abstract crow wing. But it's very much tribal, I guess, in design, that has the Summit chevron logo on front. And then the black shorts, and actually all of the shorts have a very unique look that I don't think I've seen across any teams in modern soccer. And that's that's the vertical number. So the number is
very edgy.
Yeah, it's very edgy.
Trendsetters.
So there's the vertical number on the left leg, and then the crow logo underneath it, and then a little bit of a nod then to stimulus on the left side, on the right side, that goes also vertical, and then the socks picking up the reverse of the kit, with being full black with the pink abstract design that goes across it. So again, a very unique jersey that I think is they're all very unique. But this one I think is something that it's probably, like I said, the most simple of all the jerseys we have, outside of maybe one of the home jerseys. The second jersey is called Even When I'm Crying Crazy. And this jersey is it's very tough on the eye if you have astigmatism like I do. The design itself, again, pink, but it brings in a more of an aqua blue. It looks a little bit more electric in the designs than what will probably happen. But again, a very abstract design of horizontal, vertical, 90-degree angles. I mean, it's got all the
There's
angles.
A lot going on.
It's got all the angles, but it's primarily
angles.
Primarily the pink with the black Minneapolis City logo, and then the Summit chevron logo on the front. This time the shorts still having that vertical number that we talked about, but the stimulus that runs down the right side of the leg is matching the blue that is on the shirt design, and then the socks being more traditional in all black with the pink stimulus logo. So on to the third jersey. This one's called, turns out I'm 100. So this one is just out there. So it brings in some of the similar design treatments that the other two options have. However, it brings in more color to it, which describing it sounds interesting, but if you've seen it, you'll absolutely know what I'm talking about. So across the right shoulder is the light blue, and then coming across more of like a sash that would go across from shoulder to side to like the rib area is the black design treatment. That then on top of that sits the Summit diamond logo in pink with the blue writing. But where I think it gets a little bit more interesting for me is the fact that the shorts incorporate 3-color, which you don't see very often.
You don't. It's very bold.
I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a short that is more than 2-color.
No.
In this case, the main color is black, like the other two options, but the number again is the vertical, which you'll see in all of the options here. Pink number on top of a left leg that goes from black and it fades into the light blue design structure with the pink Minneapolis City logo. And then the socks, again, 3-color socks, which I think is a little more common than 3-color shorts. It has a pink cuff on the top that leads into a full blue sock with black design treatment that mimics what's on the jersey that goes then into a black foot. So 3 very unique jerseys. I don't want to get your pick just yet for those, but
well, can I add two for all of them, but even especially the third kit, the turns out I'm 100 kit. I mean, you could make a fortune just selling those socks by themselves.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, that's the beauty of all of this.
100. But I think like overall from my description, like what would you consider those kind of design treatments? Did I kind of hit it right? It's kind of kind of tribal.
Full disclosure, I'm colorblind, so it's not super helpful for me to describe. But no, I think your descriptions are very, very accurate and very out there abstract jerseys. I think you did a phenomenal job.
Oh,
so
good, I appreciate it.
100.
So now on to the home jerseys. So the first option is why men great. Why men great till they gotta be great. This option is out of the 3 white home options is probably the most abstract. It brings together the full design treatment that from an abstract line perspective and all the angles that away option, even when I'm crying crazy, did. But the primary color is white with the pink diamond Summit logo on the front with the pink crow logo on the chest, full white shorts with the vertical lines. And then the other kind of pop of color is full aqua blue socks that lead into a white foot. So I think that one's pretty out there from what we're seeing for the home jerseys.
Just a tad.
Just a tad. I don't hate it. But option 2 is called the woo. So I don't know if that is necessarily a throwback to like Ric Flair from a Lizzo lyric perspective.
Yeah,
but that's how I interpret it.
That's what I interpret it as too. I could be wrong.
Yeah, right. We're probably both wrong.
We're probably wrong.
But this one has also been called the Bowie kit because there's very much so a Ziggy Stardust lightning bolt that comes down from the right collar and then on down into the right side into where you the tuck-in zone would be. It has it's all white base. It has the black crow logo and then has the Summit chevron on top of it. Full black shorts, full white socks with a band that it's primarily black across the calf with a slight hint of pink and a slight hint of blue, which resembles the Bowie lightning bolt that is primarily black with a tint of both pink and light blue. So that one, I think, maybe one of the favorites that I've seen out there.
It's up there for sure. But by the way, did you see the guy on Twitter who had the shoes that basically matched that?
Yes, I did see that.
Oh my goodness! So, like if I will say this publicly, if that is the one that gets voted. I absolutely will get a pair of shoes to rock with that for sure.
And Ryan won't because he doesn't like wearing
because he doesn't wear shoes.
Yeah, exactly. So then our final, third and final kit for our home, and then kind of rounding out the 6 is called the Took a DNA test. And this one, I think, has probably grown a lot of the traction for the unofficial poll of people who aren't members that have said, I want this thing. And that's a wing kit. So we've talked in the past about duplicating a wing kit, kind of throwing a little bit of a nod to the Minnesota United pre-MLS days. But there's a primarily white-based jersey with a black, very modern-looking crow wing that comes across the right shoulder into the left as the wing spreads open. Black Minneapolis City logo, black shorts, white socks with a black cuff. One thing to note is no sponsor on the front of the jersey. People are wondering what was going to go on with that. The Summit sponsor logo would actually be on the back for this one. So so you have another non-traditional looking kit, even though it's the crow wing, which is also maybe non-traditional, but you'd have your main title sponsor on the back. So now we get into the what would Matt and John pick?
Correct.
So why don't you go ahead and start this one?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, I can't be mad at any of them. Like,
Right.
Whatever we end up with, they're all fantastic. They really are. But if I have to go with one we'll start with the home kit. I'm definitely took a DNA test, i.e. the wing logo. I loved the NASL Minnesota United wing logo kits.
It's the only thing I own that is Minnesota United.
There you go. It's so good. And it's funny too, because you talk to so many people and they're like, they are clamoring for Minnesota United to bring this back. And so when I saw this get revealed, I was like, this has to be the one. Like, we have to give the people what they want.
Mm-hmm.
They want a wing kit. Minnesota United can't do it, won't do it. Fine. We'll do it because we're Minneapolis City.
And we can. We don't have Adidas as a sponsor.
Exactly. We do what we want. So I am not 100. I am on board with took a DNA test.
Okay.
So that's my vote for the home kits. Away kits, I guess turns out I am 100 because that is the one that I would vote for. It's an absolute masterpiece.
It's almost a form of art, really.
It really is, and that's the amazing part about this is, like, we're talking about a soccer kit, but it's magnificent. So I got to go with turns out I'm 100 for our away kit.
Some people have said that it's a little bit too busy for a soccer jersey. Well, what do you say? What do you say to those people?
And I reject their judgments and say, have you seen our lumberjack kit? Because that was badass. So.
Perfect. Well, as far as is my option. So from a home perspective, I think I think that we differ here. So
oh no,
this is good. Sorry. This is good radio, folks.
It's great radio.
So
podcasting.
I like the second option for the home jersey, which is the woo, and
it's good.
And that's the David Bowie-esque lightning bolt. Here's the reason why I didn't pick the crow.
Yes, tell us more.
The crow jersey is because we also have to create a training kit for our players.
True.
And the training kit is what the players then take with them after the season. So
True.
I look at it as obviously any of these options you can see any one of our players wearing on their college campus or at a night out at the club in the off season. But I think that having the wing kit, the took a DNA test option as our training jersey, and then selling those would give the people what they want, because we can then sell 2 jerseys and get double the traction on them. And then perhaps maybe we have some sort of package that goes with it. So anyway,
you know what? I'm going to be real. You might have swung me to the Woo kit. Mainly because, look, I just want to wing something.
Right.
So if it's our training kit, that's fine. And then if I can find the shoes to match the Woo kit, then I'm on board. I'm in.
Well, I mean, and from a coaching gear perspective, how nice would it be if we had the reverse version of that? Even though the wing would be white, there are white crows out there.
That's true.
If you go on the internet and look, and they're very unique. So, and I mean, how we wear our training tops more than we wear our game tops. So
that's very true.
So we would give more traction to the wing kit if we would have it as a training jersey. So that was why I picked my options for white, for the white home option. For the away option, I went with the second option, which is Even When I'm Crying Crazy, and that's the aqua and pink, predominantly pink option. And I chose this one because I felt that the home option that they kind of picked up on these design treatments was really, really good, but there were better options in option 2 and 3. So I chose that to pick up that design treatment and keep pink in our kit, but not make it as predominant as we've had in the past. Our first jersey was all pink with just black sleeves and a black neck ring. Last year, obviously, was a lumberjack kit. Got a lot of love over the white Sabo Bridge home kit that we wore. But this option is something that I could see as us picking it up in the not too distant future as a throwback option where it's where it's blue and white, because our throwbacks are always blue, and that's our nod to our Stegman's days. So that's why I chose that one, and because I did like the other options, even though I thought that option 1 for the pink jersey, for the away jersey, was not as out there as the rest of them. But I also thought that option 3 was way out there. Not that I don't like it. It's just more of like
it's way out there.
It's way out there, and this is a nice happy medium. What I would encourage our design staff to do is to look at potentially adopting some sort of sock pattern that's 3-color into this look and feel. So
that's not a bad idea.
So basically that's it, folks. So you can go online to any one of our social media footprints, and I believe there may even be a story up on our website, so you can take a look at them while you're listening to the show. Probably should have made that caveat before we started just talking about stuff that people can't see.
That's all right.
But hey, hit rewind, go back, pull up the picture on Twitter, or on Facebook or Instagram, and have them up and take a look at them and see if you maybe agree with us. And if you don't, who cares? You have a vote.
Yeah.
So tell us which one you want, but you can only do that if you're a member. So head on over to nplscitysc.com, get your membership, vote, and then become part of history.
Well, that is all for this week's show, folks.
You made it,
John.
You made it.
Yeah, man. I made it barely. I appreciate your encouragement and coaching me through it.
But here's the true test.
Here's the true test. I got to close this thing down. So we'll see if I get through this without messing it up. Whew, deep breath. All right. So thanks as always to our show sponsor, Summit Brewing Company. Winter, sadly, is coming fast, but before it is, October season, and Summit is here with one of their best bars and styles that is sure to get you in that fall mood. Head on down to your local liquor store. Grab some today. Summit, a more meaningful brew since 1986. If giving back to the community means a lot to you, which it should, maybe it's time to give the club that gives back a little bit of love as well. Minneapolis City is a 501c3 that provides a safe, reliable, and fun environment for young people to play the beautiful game. Look for us this offseason, hosting play events in partnership with community centers around the city. Consider a tax-deductible donation to a true city-focused organization. And it is never a bad time to become a Minneapolis City member. It is easy to support your club and get some cool stuff in return. When you become a member, you get an exclusive membership scarf, a membership card that gets you 10% off all club shop apparel, and deals on Summit, our official game day bar, Palmer's. Plus, you get to vote on important club matters, including selecting the membership board, choosing the scarf, and as we mentioned, the kit designs. Visit MinneapolisCitySC.com and make it happen. Do you have anything you want us to cover in the offseason? Any hard-hitting exposés you've been hoping we undertake? Why Ryan Nichols doesn't wear shoes? Send us some mail. It's easy. Hit us up on Twitter at The People's Pitch or through email at mcscpodcast@gmail.com. All questions, comments, and concerns are welcome. And finally, as always, you can hit the club up at Minneapolis City SC. That is all for this week. We will be back at our normal offseason schedule of once every 2 weeks with some really good offseason topics. So please stay tuned. We wish Nate and his Mindy the best of luck with their new family member and hope for his speedy return to the show so I don't have to do this again and embarrass myself. With that, I'm Matt. That's John. Until next time, you got hoofed.
You got hoofed.
One take. It's Milays. I remember younger days, watching Danny Phantom. Now a nigga ballin' chillin' sitting in the Phantom. Nickname Bane during Fed Black Panther. Rather sit with Colin than to stand for the anthem. What it means, foul niggas never got an and one. Lovers for the sport on the court, getting and ones. If I could get a white man, then I'd brand one. Trying to stack paper for my grandson's grandson. Blue moon, though I'm rare. Love at first sight. Best love affair, coming at me lays. Better be prepared, cause I always stay fresh, like I live in Tupperware. I'm the Lord, the reason that they vegan never seen beef before. Blowing up C4 on the seafloor. Confident, y'all the opposite, Eeyore. Such a bore, never got enough, always wanted more. Skip to World War IV when I got the ox cord. Always chomping up the grass like when the ox bored. Getting high, doing drive-bys on the top floor. Staying fly till I die, give a high five to Forbes. Whether rich or poor, squad got my back like I was gored. When I record them holding hands with Hori Hanzo swords. Freestyles got the freedom ancestors fought for, Lord. Now they gon' pay me what they owe me. Feeling like Pablo, feeling like Kobe. Ain't no real friends, nigga fuck Joey. Stop hating Kenya, Nairobi. People in my face, but they talking to the old me. Girls said I suck, now these hoes wanna blow me. But the only thing I blow is a OZ. Trying to be a CEO, so I'm going OC. One take.